Welcome back. I've got Kam Dasani on the line. Cam, how are you today?
Fantastic, Michael. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Glad you could make some time today to be on the show. So, why don't you share a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into the conversation.
Absolutely. And before we do jump in, I did listen to your episode with Bronson Hill. Absolutely loved it, specifically in regards to the balance between money freedom and time freedom. And I think that's going to be a big subject that we talk about today. So guys, if you haven't, left a 5-star review for Michael, go ahead and do that. I did that immediately after watching that episode, and looking forward to jumping in. So. Quick overview on myself. The way I like to share my story is by basically telling a story about what I went through. Um, there's so many ambitious professionals in the world today that want to either make more money, but they don't have the time because of their 9 to 5, or they want to completely leave their 9 to 5. But they keep hitting these different dead ends. Okay, whether that's so they start a side hustle, they realize it's too much work, fizzles out. They buy a course and they kind of put some time into it, but they don't get the results that they want. Or they try investing their money in different things, but they just lose money over and over again. And I've done all of those things. So those are the examples that I gave. Um, and eventually, what I went from and to is from being a tech professional in the Silicon Valley making a quarter million a year, but being very, very burnt out and not seeing a light at the end of that tunnel at all. I was forced to live in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is extremely expensive. And 250 a year there is still kind of middle class. You have to be in the office every day, even after COVID. That's kind of the transition that most companies have made. And I stumbled across many different things, from Airbnb to crypto to trading. And trading is really what changed everything for me, because I was not able to only strategically invest my money long term, but also make short term cash flow that I could actually leave my 9 to 5.
That's beautiful. It's the hero's journey, quite frankly, which we go to the movies and see, but we see it in a real life human being. And I agree with you. San Francisco is a very expensive community to be in because, well, it's Silicon Valley and, it's the incubator for a lot of things. And I know a lot of people are probably thinking it's like, okay, a quarter million a year and you're miserable and burned out. And I think that is a story that we see time and time again with people that, earn, doesn't matter what the amount is, but even, the higher incomes, even though you were basically middle class in that community, but just the pressure of it. And I think we're seeing that a lot with a lot of people, why we see disengagement at work, why we see the numbers we're seeing from the various research groups is people are disconnected from what the company is doing and their part in it. And there's so many different avenues with that, but ultimately it just comes down to looking yourself in the mirror and going, okay, am I happy? And if you're not, okay, what am I going to do about that? And it's up to you as an individual. Don't expect external forces or the superheroes to come in and save the day for you. No, you have to put on your own cape and save yourself. And what does that look like? Well, it depends on what's important to you. And in your situation, you realized, okay, this is not for me. Okay, what do I want to do? And you went down the rabbit hole that many of us do, and we're like, well, let me try different things. And I encourage people to do that. A lot of people say, well, no, just pick this arena or this. No, it's like you have to try because there are people that are crushing it in every different industry. And it's because they found something that works for them. It aligns with who they are and their interest and their passions and their ability to regulate themselves to go, okay, I'm going to go into this, I'm going to approach it the right way. And you've done that. And obviously I commend you for going through all those things. So the next question I have for you is when you're trying all the different things, obviously the crypto and the Airbnb and other things like that, was there some commonalities that you were discovering as you were trying them and figuring out, okay, this isn't necessarily for me, I want to look at something else?
Yeah. So I think location freedom was always the biggest thing to me, because I was like, if I stay in corporate tech, I can take my 2 weeks off a year and then like come back. But I can't really experience living anywhere else for years at a time. And now, I have a place in California in the Bay Area still, but I live in Dallas full time with my fiance. And I mean, you and I both know this, depending on where people living are watching or where people that are watching the show are living, the money goes really, really far in Dallas. I have a much bigger place here. Everything's cheaper. I can afford to pay a personal trainer 5 days a week, as opposed to two in the Bay Area. I have a chef and meal prep and all of these things. And that was always appealing to me to be able to come here, potentially live here for 2 years, not pay state income tax, and then maybe try Tampa, Florida in 2 years. And then maybe just do Europe for 6 months, right? What I noticed is a lot of these opportunities did not offer that in as easy of a way as I wanted. Meaning, you could start an Airbnb business, but you kind of have to be close to your properties, or they sell you a dream like, hey, maybe you can hire people to manage it. And I'm sure people do that, but it's a lot harder than what people think. So, what I tell people about trading is that it's a laptop, a phone, and you. There's no boss, there's no clients. It's you in the market. If that's not appealing to you, that's okay. If you want to do something that where you deal with more people, then that's totally fine. But most people that I've found that come to me, men and women, working their 9 to 5, they're like, this is the only thing I have time for. To at least not let my money sit in my bank account and do nothing. Um, and I think that's really been appealing to me about trading for as long as it has.
It's, and we know, the people like your Warren Buffetts of the world, have done really, really well for the long term, and there are people that do extremely well that approach investing in a different way. And before I continue, I just always throw in this disclaimer: we're having an investment conversation. We're not going to give you advice. If you want to work with Cam, then you can go that route, and I encourage you to do so. But we're today we're not going to give you advice, so don't come after us if you go buy 1,000 shares of something else and all of a sudden it gets delisted tomorrow. We didn't know that. If we did, then well, that opens up another can of worms for another discussion. But I agree. It's what it does too is it forces people to do something that I don't think society does enough of, and we're seeing it in different facets of life, is I don't think people really research like they should. Now, of course, with the advent of AI, it's getting a lot easier to, quickly research some things, but you still need to dig in and all that. And that's one of the things with investing is when you're investing something, you need to do a little research. You have to find out, okay, is this a good place for me, whether it's a long-term investment or it's a short-term situation, or you're expecting, okay, that their sales, quarter 4 reports going to be coming out, or quarter 3 reports coming out at the time of this recording. Okay, what does that look like? Are we going to see a spike? Are we going to be able to get a short-term gain on this? What can we do with that? There's all kinds of different angles to it, and obviously we know about options and shorts and all that other good stuff. But ultimately, it's like when you finally landed on the investing side of things, what were some of the things to you? And obviously, I know you had mentioned before is like the freedom of being able to work and live wherever you want. But what about, what was that, light bulb moment for you going, okay, this is definitely what I'm interested in.
Yeah, so the light bulb hit when I actually found the right traders who are now on my team, right? So like there's a bunch of like trading gurus, whatever you want to call them, Discord people online that have channels and like they give signals and so on and so forth. And I just frankly didn't trust any of these people because I'm like, who like, do they have any resume in the financial world? And that's when I met the person that changed everything for me, Mahul Patel, ex-Goldman Sachs, built algorithms for them on the futures side. Those algorithms generated millions of dollars a week. He realized when he basically created that algo that he cannot trade his own money with it working for Goldman. That's technically insider trading, and that's why he had to leave Goldman, or didn't have to, but chose to. Now he trades for himself, and he came to me, and we met through networking and just connecting. And he was like, I've really wanted to do more than just trade myself, but here are my results. I'd love to do something where we bring this opportunity to more people. And I didn't know anything about trading at this time. Like I knew about investing, like I had shares, and once again, not financial advice, but you don't have to be a genius to decide, hey, I want to invest in Meta, Tesla, and Apple long term because those companies are going to continue to grow in a positive way, right? That's long term strategic investing. Is not, you don't need to know how to read a chart to do that. But with Mahul, he was trading futures. And more importantly, he was trading futures with leverage. So to take a step back, what people need to understand about futures, what it means is you're basically predicting what's going to happen to a stock by a certain date within a very short time frame. So we literally decide, hey, this is what's going to happen to the NASDAQ, and it can be an index as well, the NASDAQ by like 5 minutes from now. So it's very short hedge fund style strategy, but we do it with leverage and leverage that we're not actually responsible for. This is where the light bulb really hit. I'm like, what do you mean you're not responsible for the money that you leverage? He's like, no. I'm like, what? Because like if I go to Chase or American Express and borrow money, I'm expected to pay that back. We know this. There's an industry in the trading world called prop firms. Okay. What prop firms do is they built a business, an industry of their own over the last decade. And they said, hey, if you can prove to us that you're a really, really good trader, we will give you 50 grand, 100 grand, more than that to leverage. And I was like, okay. So now instead of trading with my own money, which I don't have that much saved at the time, I can trade with 100 grand of somebody else's and not be responsible for the losses. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, how? He's like, because they choose to make those bets. That's their industry. So as traders, when we win with leverage, we keep 80% of the capital, of the profits. Okay. When we lose, we don't owe money. And the only way we lose is if we lose more than 3% of whatever they've given us, then they just take their money back. We still don't know anything. So I'm like, so this is literally risk free. It's just a matter of me putting my time into it to learn the skill. He's like, I'm like, okay, teach me this. So he teaches me this. I'm his first like person that he really teaches this to. And I'm like, okay, huh, this is good. Like this is good. I can wake up and spend a couple hours in the morning following your lead, learning your strategies that you learned at Goldman, and apply them to trades that are now risk free.
It's one of those things where you go, how is this possible? You expecting something around the corner, but obviously based on the format and the design of how these organizations have been set up, and obviously they are really selective, and they know that your mentor is pretty good. I know that's watering it down a little bit, because made millions a week. And I'm sure Goldman was not happy when he left, but hey, it happens. There's always somebody else that can pick it up and do well for them. I haven't seen Goldman Sachs, going out of business sale signs anywhere, so I think they're okay. But again, it's one of those opportunities where you look and you go, okay, I have some flexibility in here. Now, that doesn't make you uh, quote unquote lazy or extra risky, because for me, if I was going into this, I'm like, okay, I'm being a steward for somebody else's money, so I'm not going to do anything dumb here. But because if you maintain the mentality of, okay, this is my investment, which it is, because if it does well, you're obviously, you mentioned you're getting 80% back. That's not a bad deal. You're borrowing somebody else's money, and then when you win, you get 80% of the winnings, and you didn't really put in anything other than your time and your knowledge and your expertise. It's definitely something that I think a lot of people should look into, because again, as you've discovered by going through all the different things that you explored, you figured out a way going, okay, this is going to give me a little bit more flexibility and freedom that I want. And like you mentioned, and you said, and I think this is when you were learning it, but how many hours a day are you spending on this? My hunch is you're not camped out in front of your computer all day and all night on this.
No. Um, 10 hours a month is what we have found to be that sweet spot of like, hey, like you can work your job And here's the benefit about futures. It's actually a 24/5 market. So you can't say, oh, but Cam, I'm not available from 9 to 11. It doesn't matter. The stock market is open during business hours. Everybody knows that. But the futures market is tradable 24/5. So you can trade at night, you can trade early in the morning, you can trade in the middle of the day. It doesn't actually matter. Um, when I say 10 hours a month, I mean, when I was learning from Mahul, that's what I was spending learning. So I was spending 10 hours a month just learning the strategies, getting on the computer with him, getting on a Zoom screen share, watching him trade, following those trades at my own discretion with my leveraged accounts, and just continuing to refine my skill set. I think with other businesses too, there's a cost to those businesses, meaning like with Airbnb, you need to buy furniture, right? You need to pay lease. With this, there's nothing really to pay for.
Yeah, and mortgage interest rates. We know that the interest rates have gone up over the last few years, and we see a lot of people that are like, "Ooh, now they're under." And I know a lot of banks, and even in commercial real estate, there's a lot of banks that are not renewing the leases for people because, like, you no longer qualify to receive this funding because the interest rates have put you under on this. And even though they've been a great tenant, never missed a payment, anything like that, there's just piles and piles of that. So for those that are like invested in real estate, and I know, real estate is one of those arenas that you see a lot of the gurus talking about the benefits of it. And yes, there are benefits to it, but there's also, again, risks where, in this model, it certainly seems that, the risk is extremely low compared to all the other endeavors that you tested and tried and looked at.
Yeah, and my uncle told me this. He's one of the biggest commercial real estate brokers in the Silicon Valley. Um, and when my friend, who he's making 1 million a year in tech, he's like, "Hey, I want to diversify and invest into real estate. Should I do residential or commercial?" And my uncle said, "Look, you're never going to beat the guys that are in the trenches in commercial at commercial by doing your own research. So just do residential, stay in your lane, and when you have, 8 figures or whatever that you can put up some cash and then also leverage, then come to me and we can do a commercial deal, right?" And the reason I tell that story is not to like put down real estate because my uncle's obviously super wealthy off of real estate, but it's to say that you can either try to figure things out on your own, which I did for a long time and was very stubborn, and it didn't really get me far, or just team up with the best of the best, like I did with Mahul, and cut my learning time in much more than half. People say you cut your learning time in half, much more than half. Um, I'm not even here to say that I'm a better futures trader than Mahul. I don't have to be. He's much better than me. But I can follow his lead and log in with him live and literally trade with him live on Zoom. And then also decide I want to trade by myself later because the market is open all the time. From there, even, there are other investing strategies that we have. Once again, not financial advice, but because we don't start with our own budget, we start with leverage, we are able to make more faster than the person trying to turn $1 into 100,000. We're turning, and by the way, Mohul has $4.5 million from prop firms, meaning he's proven to different prop firm companies over and over again that he's worth giving money to, that he's stacked $4.5 million. It doesn't go to his bank account. It goes in his trading account where he's now allowed to leverage. So if he wanted to leverage 4.5 million, he could. But of course we don't do that. But he can leverage 500,000 if he wants to, if he sees a really good trade. And that's the power of leverage. Now, when you start collecting your cash, you're collecting 80% of the profit, you can now put that cash into different things. Instead of starting from the bottom like most people, you're playing with leverage, you're collecting cash, you're stacking it, and now you have other things that you can put your money into for safety and diversity.
And that's, again, that's where the freedom kicks into it. And then you can say, okay, if you see one, and especially based on, and we know with any type of trading, there's always risk involved. But when you analyze the charts, you analyze trends, and you're successful, like your mentor has been, you see something going, okay, this is not a sure thing, but it's about as close to a sure thing as I've seen in 15 years. yeah, then you're going to go, you know what? I'm willing to obviously I'm going to, use that half a million leverage and go deep in this, knowing that you're not going to do it. And even you might even put your own skin in the game a little bit, going, okay, this one, might really, really go big on us. And it does. And you're like, okay, I calculated that right. One piece of advice, and I said we don't give investment advice, but this is one that we see time and time again. And it's been talked about by all the investment experts and gurus and everybody around, is you really have to keep your emotions in check. And that's hard because our brains just naturally get excited when things go well, and we can get really down when things don't. And when you crush it on a trade and you're like, wow, that really, it's human nature. We want to celebrate, we want to be happy. And I'm not telling people don't, but you kind of have to put a governor on it a little bit and go, all right, just do that. And then, maybe after when you close down the laptop and you go out to, a nice restaurant with your fiance or your significant other or friends, then you can go, I'm really happy how that turned out. And but then you enjoy it, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, you get better at it. And because a lot of times the emotions get into play, and even if you have a couple bad trades, that can kick in self-doubt and all kinds of things. So you really have to kind of just look at the trade as it presents itself. And and I know that's for a lot of people, and we've seen it, especially with the advent of app-based trading, which is a whole lot easier for people to get invested in things than it used to be. Um, you've seen people completely lose their shirts and everything else because they rode the wave. We saw it with the meme stocks and all of that, and a lot of people got crushed. And it's like I saw it and I'm like, oh no, because I know what it's like to have economic challenges, and that's not a fun place to be. So that's the only advice that I'm giving on this is figure out how to regulate your emotions when you're entering something like this. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think emotional regulation is a skill and it's a habit that can be formed, right? And when I start working with clients, I always tell them, hey, like the biggest thing you need to understand is this game is about being the best loser you can be. And I know that sounds crazy, but Mahul loses trades, I lose trades, the best hedge funds in the world lose trades. But as long as on a quarterly, every 6 months, every year, our portfolio is up, that's what matters. You cannot go into every day thinking you're not going to take losses in that day. If you are not taking losses even in your life every day, you're not challenging yourself enough. And that can be on any side of life, whether that's in the gym, whether that's approaching strangers and meeting new people, which is a challenge for a lot of people, right? If you are living purely in your comfort zone, your brain actually isn't growing. It's Andrew Huberman talks about this. I forget the part of the brain that he talks about, but he's like, if you're not doing hard things, your brain doesn't grow, and then by the time you get old, you become stupider, basically, because you're not challenging yourself enough. Um, my advice, though, emotional regulation aside, this is not investment or financial advice at all. This is just like what I've learned to be very beneficial to me to get me to being a millionaire at 30. And at 26, I was not. So, like, it didn't take forever, but it's definitely not get rich quick. Is understand that there's an opportunity cost to every choice that you make or don't make, meaning not making a choice is also a choice. So if I decide when I was single not to approach the girl that is now my fiance, then I don't have a fiance. And I know that sounds simple and like kind of dumbed down, but it's the same thing with picking who you want to work with in life, whether that's you pick the job that you're going to take, or you pick the mentor you're going to work with. The way I saw it is based on my uncle's advice. I can either compete with the Mahul Patels of the world and the best traders in the world by trying to figure it out on my own, or just pay for mentorship, pay for guidance, pay for advice with somebody that's clearly qualified. And that's how I'm literally his partner today. Because I was like, this is the greatest opportunity I've ever seen. And it's funny because I don't sit here and say everybody that we've worked with is successful because people have given up. Like people give up like 2 months in. They're like, hey man, like I can't even commit the 10 hours a month. Like it's not worth it for me. And then I see the people that go for 8 months and they're making a quarter million a year in 2 hours a day of trading. And I'm like, if you just stay down for 6 to 12 months, your whole world can change. It did for me. That's why I'm here on the show with you today.
Yeah, it's definitely an opportunity that I want people to explore anyway, and do their own due diligence. But I love bringing people on this show that have gone from challenging situations to absolutely crushing it and thriving and wanting to help others do the same thing. That speaks volumes to your character and your mentor and everybody else. So I love this conversation. Where can people find out more about you and all this amazing work?
Yeah. Michael, again, thanks for having me. My Instagram is Profit with Cam, so Profit with KM. I'm on YouTube as well. Free gift for your listeners today. Anybody that DMs me breakfast, okay, you will get a free audit of your stock portfolio. And once again, not financial or investment advice, but just me and my team's thoughts on your investments today. If you don't have any investments today, feel free to still DM us, and we'd love to have a conversation with you about what you're looking to do in the stock market in general. Because ignoring the stock market is a terrible thing to do for anybody. I don't think anybody should not be investing in stocks, whether it's trading futures or just investing in great companies for the long term, because it's the easiest money you can make at the bare minimum. Not financial advice, but if you're not putting your money into Tesla, Apple, and Meta, I don't know why you're not doing that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And those are companies that are going to be here for some time now. We've seen companies that were gigantic that have gone away, but and we can look and see why they did it. I don't anticipate those three organizations going anywhere anytime soon. So definitely reach out to Cam and learn more and see if it's right for you. So Cam, really appreciate you. I'm thrilled for your success so far. Congratulations on your upcoming wedding, and enjoy everything you get to do. So thanks again for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Michael.